Where there is crisis, there is opportunity.
Fuel prices were increasing. There were shortages in supplies. The world is becoming smaller. The geoeconomic uncertainty is increasing.
Okay, you've got all this risk, you've got all this geoeconomic, geopolitical, what the hell is going on? But then also you've got a lot of potential that comes from that.
We know that those risks are important. Businesses do need to understand new opportunities are being created.
They're the same everywhere. You get those little things on LinkedIn and they're just giving you like 200 words and they could be generated on AI.
Unlike traditional search reports, our barometer combines regional expertise. But we've also got our own risk-adjusted opportunities made based on 15 years of data, help clients move from being reactive to proactive.
You got Goldman Sachs, US company in finance, Microsoft, Mercedes-Benz, obviously a car manufacturer from Germany, all moving into India.
India throughout appears in the report as an anchor of resilience during these uncertain situations. Defense export has crossed over 30,000 crores. Everyone can see that the question is not why manufacture in India.
You've got to keep a close eye because these things change quickly and are happening. And it's just to see companies that can like latch on to those opportunities are going to be the ones doing the best. Hello. So welcome to the GSU Briefing. This is episode 2. I'm delighted to have Tansi with me. She's our new research lead at the GSU. This is why she's on, because we've just released our latest risk barometer, which is, I think it's the second one. I hadn't joined when you released the first one, but this is the second one for Q2. And I think, judging by what I saw, it's more detailed than the last one. It looks better. It reads better. I think it's all just a lot better. So yeah, tell me about the risk barometer, Tansi. Tell me about this one and just what it does in general and what we can expect.
Of course, we produce the Quarterly Geoeconomic Risk Barometer at GSU. It is a flagship research publication. We try to cover all the regions. Right now, we have 10 regions, and we bring together insights from analysts all across regions to provide a comprehensive view of global geopolitical and geoeconomic developments. Our objective behind creating it is to help clients move from being reactive to proactive. Instead of asking what happened and what are the crises, we are now asking what does this mean for the business and what should we do next. So that's what makes the Quarterly Geoeconomic Risk Barometer different from a news summary or a conventional risk report. Unlike traditional search reports, our barometer combines regional expertise. So the analysts that are writing these reports, they are also consulting clients simultaneously. So I myself and other research analysts in the research vertical, everyone is involved in consulting clients in some way or the other. So this really helps us to connect geopolitical developments with the real challenges that the businesses are facing in the real world. So it's not just an academic report analyzing geopolitical events. It provides a forward-looking analysis, sectoral outlooks, and insights that really helps organizations anticipate challenges rather than just react to them.
Think of risk, you think of danger and what could go wrong. But what I noticed about the barometer this time around was it was more like actually what can go right as well. But it's also what the potentials are of all this risk. Okay, you've got all this risk, you've got all this geoeconomic, geopolitical, what the hell is going on? But then also you've got a lot of potential that comes from that. And I think I read a lot in the barometer that was very positive in a way, opened a lot of opportunity. So was that like a deliberate move to try and not just make it about the dangers and the risks, but actually also the opportunities that come from said dangers? And
yes, it was a very conscious decision. So if you see the traditional geopolitical reporting trends, they focus more on conflicts, the instability, and the crises, right? But while we know that those risks are important, businesses do need to understand new opportunities are being created as global markets adjust after these crises. So for example, we know that everybody is impacted from these crises. I'll just try to draw on a very simple example. Let's take the US and Russia war. So it was not just these two nations which were affected by the conflict, right? It was not just the allies as well who were affected. People far away from these regions were affected in a way or other. So fuel prices were increasing. There were shortages in supplies and a lot of other things. So through all these changes, we can see that the world is becoming smaller and the geoeconomic uncertainty is increasing exponentially at the same time. So right now, what businesses are doing is businesses are not just trying to adjust to the risks. They are also proactively asking questions on how they can deal with these risks, navigate the situation, and take advantage from these challenges and look for the opportunities. There has been a deliberate move, and you can see this theme going on throughout the barometer as well, that we are focusing not just on risk management, but also how to navigate the opportunity and take the best opportunity that these businesses can use or the investors can use in their favor. Yeah.
No, it's like, it's interesting because you think everything, where there is crisis, there is opportunity. Because I guess you think of Russia-Ukraine war, you think, oh my God, so many sanctions against Russia, they're so limited, so many sanctions which have a ripple effect. I think you can see that throughout the whole barometer, like Oceania, as far as Oceania, you can see the effects of the sanctions. But then also I contributed the Central Asia part, and that is a region which has massively benefited from the war, because before you previously had all the pipelines going from Europe to Russia, or all the oil supplies were going that way. But actually now Kazakhstan in its own right, as a country which is growing quickly and has its own strong leadership, it's now becoming increasingly autonomous, that it can actually shape its own destiny slightly more, and is becoming a very favorable destination for navigating risk, because it's not involved in all the other elements. When before, previously, I think it could have been more marginalized by bigger countries such as Russia. So in a way, exactly what you're saying, it is like these are opportunities for businesses to really diversify their supply chains. So remind me, you did the South Asia,
Yes.
the columns. Okay, yeah. Tell me about South Asia. Obviously, the GSU has an Indian focus.
Yeah.
Yeah, continues to perform super resolutely. So yeah, take me into that.
So when we talk about India and South Asia, there we can see that now the businesses are trying to diversify their supply chains, as there is a lot of uncertainty and conflicts going on almost in every region. As you mentioned as well, Central Asia is also benefiting from it because there is no conflict in countries that you mentioned right now. So there is stability in comparison to other big countries as well, who has been big supply chains and has been hubs for trade and technology for a long time. Similarly, if we talk about South Asia, I covered that portion, and I've seen, and India throughout appears in the report not just an anchor, not just another country, but almost as an anchor of resilience during these uncertain situations that is going on. And I believe the reason behind is the combination of domestic fundamentals with increasing strategic relevance in the global economy. So, one thing to note from the barometer as well is that the global businesses are no longer looking at India only for low cost production bases, right? They're looking for resilient markets that have stable policies, skilled talent, and long term growth potential. And I believe India offers that at this moment. Companies are also diversifying, and India is advantaging from that. Additionally, as you said, Central Asia, countries like Uzbekistan and other countries in Central Asia also taking the advantage of the supply chain diversification that is happening because of the conflicts going on everywhere in the world right now. So, strength, resilience, reduced dependence on concentrated markets like China. India is now emerging as a preferred destination along with other countries, along with other Southeast Asian countries as well, I would say Vietnam, Singapore, etc. So, whether it's the expansion of, I'd say, the global capability centers that we are seeing right now, there's huge investment going on there. There's huge investment in AI, data centers, and semiconductor production as well. Everything is positioning India and these countries as a strategic partner in global value chain rather than simply as an alternative for manufacturing destination as it has been before. So that being said, there are challenges. It's not that there are no challenges. There are obviously challenges, regulatory challenges. Skill development remains critical as well, along with infrastructure. So, but yeah, overall, I would say that these countries, specifically if we talk about India, the combination of the market size, talent that is available, and obviously the demographic advantage that it presents, it continues to be a very attractive destination for investors in today's geoeconomic landscape.
So I guess with India, it's always had this strong kind of IT services. It's always been almost like a back office machine for these big companies. That's like traditionally it's just got those operations flowing. But actually, if you're seeing how India is positioning itself now, is there's more investment in its people and actually the talent that's coming from India. Just looking at some of the companies that are properly moving in, especially in Bengaluru. I'd like to hear more about Bengaluru, just because that seems to be, you got Goldman Sachs, finance, US company in finance, Microsoft, Mercedes-Benz, obviously a car manufacturer from Germany, all moving into India. It's like,
Yeah.
it's crazy. It's really investing in the talent and the human capital and not just this bottom of the supply chain. It's becoming like a actual, that is where stuff will happen. What you got to say about that?
100%. There is a lot of potential. And as I said before, businesses are looking for countries that can sustain growth for a long time, right? Especially when there is so much uncertainty right now. We can also see that there are other countries which are becoming saturated. India, as I said, still has a lot of potential, and the evidence is seen through the huge investment that is being made in global capacity centers. Earlier, they used to be more like back office operations where they were helping with like low cost production, low cost labor. But now they are also navigating into AI innovation, engineering products, cybersecurity, product development. And a lot of decision making is also taking place now. It's not just operations going on in India. So, large investments by hyperscale cloud providers, as you said. A lot of this is happening in Hyderabad, Bengaluru, and other regions of India as well. This really reflects the confidence in India's digital ecosystem. And yeah, it is helping India become a really high value capability center for all these multinational organizations. One interesting thing I'd say is that now everyone can see that the question is not why manufacture in India because it's cheaper. It is more leaning towards why innovate in India because there's talent, there's market, there is ecosystem. So the evolution is what will define India's competitiveness. And as I said before, challenges still remain, but over the next few decades, it's going to be really crucial and very interesting to monitor.
Yeah. Great. Okay, so if I ask you, just this is going off on a bit of a side kind of question, but if you could explain why you think India has done so well, and if you were to look based on the risk going forward, is it because of the leadership? Is it because of Modi, or what? And what could the challenges be going forward? What are the potential spikes in the road going forward? Is that like, do you see what I mean? Because there's so much potential, but how do you make sure that there isn't more kind of shocks from outside, and what is working now that you've got to keep going essentially?
It's an interesting question, definitely. So think what is attracting all these investments is definitely the domestic fundamentals, right? So it is a combination of a lot of things. It's not just talent or it's not just the demography that India presents. It depends a lot on the policy support and the strong policy that the government have right now. India, if we talk about specifically AI, there's been a huge focus, huge investment in not just attracting investments, but also becoming self sufficient and also producing their own products in AI, which is bringing India more forward and attracting investments from companies like NVIDIA and so on. Yeah, it is a combination of a lot of things, I would say. Demography, strong policy support, talent, and obviously India is huge when it comes to demography, when it comes to diversifying the supply chains. It presents a huge and diverse market. So that helps a lot. Human resources, as I said before, very effective and present in huge quantities. In terms of challenges, there will be a lot of challenges. So infrastructure is main. Regulatory uncertainty still remains, right? There is skill gap right now. There is talent, but there is also skill development that still remains critical. So we would need to simultaneously work on these challenges in order to make sure that India continues at the pace as it is going on right now.
In terms of the infrastructure, are you talking transport infrastructure? What do you mean by infrastructure?
Infrastructure, if we talk about AI, then the digital infrastructure, but we are not just restricted to AI and investments in AI, right? Diversification in supply chain is happening in other sectors as well. So manufacturing, industries, telecom, you name it, or the US China trade and tariff war, then the Russia Ukraine war, everything is leading towards supply chain diversification in a way or other. So, in all these sectors need infrastructure management and development simultaneously. So, it's not just restricted to just AI, I'd say. Yeah.
Produce the Indian newsletter. In terms of that, just to go a bit more into depth, what's the regional kind of outlook like? Which regions to look out for? Which obviously we've touched on Bengaluru, Hyderabad, but yeah, take us further.
In terms of the newsletter, we have covered 7 sectors specifically, and we have covered them keeping in mind our clients and the sectors that have been performing well, plus have been a major focus of international clients as we work with them. So information technology, as I mentioned, is one of the biggest sectors, and global capacity centers is the main theme for that. There's also manufacturing sector. So there's a heavy investment in semiconductors from national and international investors. So this is another sector that is really important. Then we have renewable energy. So domestic solar manufacturing is also getting really important, and there's a huge investment opportunity for investors here as well. Then other one is healthcare and pharmaceuticals, and it has remained, and I think it will continue to remain critical sectors when it comes to India. Then we have defense and security. It is interesting to see that the defense budget has increased significantly over the last decade, and defense export as well. So if we take example of the year 2013-24, it was around some certain crores. But now in 2026, 2027, the defense export has crossed over 30,000 crores. So it is very interesting to watch for investors. Mining and critical minerals, as usual, is really critical for India, and there is a huge potential there as well. So we have tried to cover 7 sectors in the newsletter. And yeah, hopefully there will be a podcast separately on this one. And then, yeah, we can talk about it more on that one.
Great. Obviously, the risk process wasn't just about India, but I thought we should go a little bit more in, just because it is really interesting, India's kind of sustained growth and investments coming from so many different angles, like into so many different sectors. It's like it's exciting times for sure.
Exactly.
Cool. Yeah, no, it is good. We touched on it at the beginning. It's risk, but it's also proactive potential as well. It's like, where are the risks and where can we go somewhere else with it? Because I think you're right. When you do see kind of the standard geopolitical intelligence little summaries, they're the same everywhere. You get those little things on LinkedIn and they're just giving you like 200 words, and they could be generated on AI. And I think that's another cool thing about the GSU is, if you look at where the research has been conducted, it's done by a lot of different people and in a lot of different places. So the perspectives are different. And I think that's also another thing which perhaps other outlets lack, is it's a pretty mono idea they have of the world. Whereas if you actually get a lot of different people from different places, all with very different backgrounds, contributing their perspectives, you get really quite like an eclectic mix of ideas, which gives you way more perspectives. I love this risk barometer. I think it's great.
Exactly. As you're saying, like perspective matters a lot. So it is not just a combination of like continuous monitoring of the geopolitical and geoeconomic developments that we are doing as a research vertical, but we've also got like our own RAO scores, so risk adjusted opportunities. And it is made based on 15 years of data that really enables us to make evidence-based forecasts, right? So all these insights are then consolidated into the quarterly risk barometer. And as we talked about the analysts, they are from all parts of the world. So they not just bring in the regional insights, they also bring in on the ground perspective, which becomes very important part of the research and adds a very different and interesting angle to our report. So the combination of data analysis, our research, continuous monitoring, diverse regional insights, and also different interesting perspectives, it makes our barometer very nuanced, practical, and relevant for businesses operating in this increasingly volatile environment.
So thank you so much for joining me, Tansi. It's been super
Mhm.
informative. It was really good hearing about the risk barometer, what it does, just introducing it to our audience, plus a bit of a deep dive into India. Obviously, the GSU has that Indian influence, plus India's been killing it this year. So I think it was a really interesting region to dive specifically into. If you were to say one thing we can expect from next quarter and maybe the next risk barometer, how do you think it will look different from this?
Okay, the next quarter I think it will be shaped based on how businesses are now responding to this increasingly fragmented global economy. We will be closely monitoring developments in AI, as it is one of the biggest topics. Trade policy, industrial policy, critical minerals, again, huge in Central Asia and other parts of the world. Southeast Asia as well, supply chain diversification, again, very important topics. So these are all the topics that we will be monitoring for the next quarter that will be influencing the investment decisions across the regions and will be really interesting to monitor. If we talk about more broadly, the clients should focus on the long-term structural shifts now that they are creating instead of just focusing on individual geopolitical risks. And as you all know, those organizations that anticipate these challenges early on and adapt to the strategies are going to be best positioned to capture the new opportunities, which is the main priority of our risk barometer.
For sure. You touched on critical mineral processing there. I focused a lot on that on my Central Asia piece. And it is really interesting because that is shifting. That is coming up. It's not come up, but it's coming up because they're not just importing minerals anymore. They're actually processing them ready to go. They're no longer processing them in China. They're processing them. So that's like a whole thing that's going to just keep on developing. They've committed so much investment to it. So there's so much more to come. And it's just like, you've got to keep a close eye because these things change quickly and are happening. And it's just to see how quickly basically the first companies that can like latch on to those opportunities are going to be the ones doing the best. Because, okay, Kazakhstan's doing this critical mineral processing. They're not there yet, but they are going to be. And the first companies that can see that are going to be the ones placed, especially with the sanctions. If you look at the increasing friction between China and the US, the sanctions are going to make things harder for European countries in critical mineral processing.
I think it is going to remain very interesting and very important for a long run because they are essential for a country's economic growth, right? National security is affected by critical minerals and they're also very vulnerable to disruptions that are taking place in the world. This is happening simultaneously, so it remains very critical. So things like electric vehicles, semiconductors, artificial intelligence, renewable energy is big as well. Every aerospace and defense, all of this will come under this category, I believe, and will be really interesting to look out for. Yeah.
Tansi, I could talk to you about this all day, but we have to wrap up. So thank you so much for coming on episode 2 of the GSU Briefing, a deep dive into the risk barometer. And thank you for your time.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. And one thing that I would like to mention to our viewers is that you can access our barometer from our website. If you're watching this on LinkedIn, you can go directly to our page and click on the link there for the barometer. Do download it, have a read, and let us know your thoughts.
It is good. This one is so good. Lovely visuals as well.